So how do you see India's position in the global tech market? What are your views on AI? What is it that makes or breaks a product?
But truly, is it really innovation? Is it really creativity? You're the dumbest founder if you have hired someone smart and still if you're asking them ki ye karo.
Hello everyone. Welcome to Decode Stories, where we explore the past, discuss the present, and prepare for the future with leaders. I am Ruby, your host and co-founder of the Chief Circle, presenting you this series. Today, we are delighted to launch our journey with a very special guest, who is not just a visionary in the tech world, but also the founding force behind the Chief Circle. Through his leadership at the Chief Circle and as a co-founder of Gypsy.ai, he has carved a niche into the realms of executive search and AI-driven personal safety. His transformative contributions at Inforida and Aptus Data Labs have marked him as a catalyst for change and innovation. So, as we embark on this new exciting venture with Decode Stories, join me in welcoming our guest and my co-founder, Deepak Ahluwalia.
So Deepak, you come from a diverse background. Diverse in the sense you have worked in companies and then you venture into the entrepreneurship and you never look back. And you started multiple companies like Growlo, Gypsy.ai, and now the Chief Circle. So what set you to this path?
First is, this is in DNA. I come from a business background, right? So I've seen my father in his early career being an army guy, right? And later he ventured out into entrepreneurship himself. So I think that's where I got the key wherein, I'm not made for jobs.
Okay.
Though I ended up with a good placement here in Bangalore after my master's with a company into data analytics. But I think over the course of first 8-9 months only, I thought that this is something that I can't do for life.
Okay.
And that's where I also met this gentleman, Sankalp Sheel. He was my mentor. He was the VP there
Which company?
in Aptus.
Okay.
My first company ever, right? I think he had an amazing idea, and he's a man who's very, very much cause oriented when it comes to farmers, when it comes to agriculture, sort of, right?
Okay.
So it was very early for me to get into something into technology, something into startup ecosystem. But I think he initiated a very amazing idea here. He presented some wow stats. So it's like about 22% of the total produce is a waste. Is a wastage. About 22 million tons is what goes as a food wastage in India as of today, 2022, 2023 ka statistics hai, right? So I think the wastage was a bigger problem. Farmer don't know what to produce. Which SKU have the demand, and then this business is like very highly perishable in nature, right? The produce. So shelf life is again very less. So you need to plan the demand. You need to have some sort of data in place where you can go back to the farmers and say that, hey, this is what people gonna consume. Yeah, like 5-10% iteration is gonna be there, of course. But yeah, this is a better approach to optimize the entire chain. And I think we used to discuss this over tea, coffee a lot of times. And then, there comes a day wherein he said that, yeah, I'm very keen about starting this up.
Okay.
Like to join. And I think that's where it all clicked there. The hustle started. I still remember we used to work for about good 20-22 hours, initial few days. And then it was crazy, yeah. The way you go learn about, we traveled down to a lot of farmers. We learned about how do they plan their produce. How does the collection happen? How does the sorting, grading happens? So yeah, I think that's where it all started, and we ended up speaking to a lot of folks. Earlier, the plan one was we'll start with a, B2C sort of a model.
Okay.
But there were other players, major players. I think they were already solving this problem. One of them, I think Instacart was already solving this problem, and they were very capital rich.
Okay.
Backed by Sequoias and all. And they were doing amazing job here. And we understood that it's not going to be a sustainable business if it's going to a B2C business,
Okay.
but B2B made more sense. And I think this was a pivot that the other companies, other brands have done earlier, right? So yeah, I think there was a starting point. It was very interesting because it was again associated with a cause, right?
So, Deepak, just tell us about how exactly Grolo was working. You mentioned about the B2B model, but I think for our audience, we would want to know, what kind of B2B operations were there, how you were actually managing the entire operations over there.
Yeah, so I think let's look at the problem statement, right, and the kind of solution that we were trying to solve it. Now, the problem one is that okay, from the producer to the consumer, these are the two key stakeholders, right? Now, in between, you have 5 to 6 layer of people. You call it agent, broker, and that's a major weight onto the cost that the end consumer pays, right? And at the same time, the farmer end up making the minimum cost, right? He supply demand increase decrease sort of farmers end up getting the same 5-10% of the ultimate cost, right? So there was one problem. We need to empower the producer more,
Okay.
right? More than what it is today. That was one. The other one is, of course, wastage, reducing the amount of wastage, and then that happens when you optimize the supply chain. That happens when you can predict at a scale what's going to be the consumption. What are the trends, what are the patterns, so you can go back to the farmers. Maybe you can build a layman's infrastructure for them,
Okay.
and say that hey, for another 14 days, this is what the demand forecast looks like. So that helps the farmers plan better, right? And if they know what would be consumed, so somewhere it's going to optimize your wastage cycle or the volume of wastage, right? So there was another problem that we wanted to sort. The third one is the turnaround time, right? Um, and transportation logistic is a big case, right? For example, back then, and just giving an example, if you are to bring a specific carrot that grows only in Uti, and let's say it's about 50 kg or 100 kg, so an entire pickup used to get loaded and come. Now you look at it, right? Entire pickup is reserved for one bag of carrot, which is about a ton in volume. So you look at, आप अगर उसमें 10 bags fill करते हो, then the cost of sticks get distributed, right?
Yes.
But if it's one, the costs kinds of come down to one bag, and that's where it comes under exotic vegetable categories, right? Sorting the logistic problem, the entire supply chain problem, and I think when I say supply chain, it also spells the quality of ultimate produce that the market is getting, right? So I think these were the key areas that we wanted to really focus. Data being the most powering asset here, right? So I think data was the key thing that we wanted to gather so that we can improve everybody's life.
Okay.
Be it the consumer, we can reduce the price, sort of, right?
Deepak, during this, conversation, and if you look at AgriTech as a space, right, you still spoke a lot about the data side of things also. And I think you did a similar thing, or I would say, things related to data in your next stint, in your next startup, I
Right.
would say Gypsy.ai. So for our audience, why don't you just tell us more about it?
Yeah, so I think Gypsy happened very interestingly, right? So we bought this office in 91 Springboard, Kormangla. This is just when we were feeding away from Grolo. I met this guy, Vikas, who was my co-founder in Gypsy. He's the founder in Gypsy. Then we used to meet at sutta breaks, coffees breaks, and then I used to share my ideas with him. He used to talk about his ideas. So Vikas was already working in a project called Milesmet.
Okay.
It was a Dubai company where it was all about auto tech, sort of, right? And Vikas had a very strong, acceptance towards that, okay, I need to do something about, automotive as an industry because he's passionate about automotive as an industry, right? And the other bigger cause, bigger than his passion was safety because he had lost one of his friend in a road accident, right? And And I think that's where it clicked to him how important safety is. So I was reading some statistics. I'm not sure with the exact numbers, but I think it was about 84,000 some sort of people, right? They die per month sort of on a road accident then
Road
and there.
accidents.
And I think about 40% of this number is contributing to children's.
Okay.
Like family ke saath gaye, अकेले gaye sort of, right? I think it's a big number to look at. And companies like Hela and other companies, they have taken some major initiatives to for road safeties and all, because I think Hela is one of the companies who have really revolutionized the lights in every truck pretty much that you see today.
Okay.
क्योंकि पहले trucks के accident बहुत होते थे because of the lights, the kind of lights they were using, very conventional and traditional, right? So I think I met Vikas there, and that's where this cause clicked me. That okay, safety is a big concern. I think that's where it started. Vikas was in a quest of someone who's a business individual and who can help him grow this. And I think that was my forte, operations and business side of it. Vikas was more of a product guy. Uh, so he was someone who was building, leading the entire product team, and product was his forte, and that's how Gypsy happened. And I think Gypsy was altogether a different tech. I think it was altogether a different journey for me, and it was a very interesting one though, right? And Gypsy is still up and running, so it's been good 3-4 years now that we've had lots of ups and downs, but I think we're still in the game in Gypsy, yeah.
So, Deepak, how exactly the Gypsy platform works?
So yeah, see, first is let's talk about the name Gypsy, right? So Gypsy is a vehicle that has served Indian military, for a very long period of time. Yeah, Maruti Gypsy, we call it, right? So that's where the name is Gypsy, because it's trusted by our army, it's trusted by people, right? So Gypsy's name, and the other reason behind the name is that at Gypsy we really believe that we believe in diversity, we believe in cultural values,
Okay.
folk cultures, sort of. Right? We were inspired by that as gypsies, like cult of gypsies, sort of. So yeah, that's where the name Gypsy came from. And before Gypsy, right, there were a lot of players. This market was very unorganized into tracking systems, GPS, your fleet solutions, sort of. And there was not an industry, safety as an industry, right? People really didn't give a damn here when we were selling safety to maybe VCs, maybe investors, maybe to customer itself. Nobody cares about their safety, to be honest. But we were very hard pushed that okay, hey, this is something that we really need, and how do we make it as a part of the ecosystem, right? So if you see in UK or in European countries today, insurance is very expensive. In fact, even in US, right? Insurance is very expensive.
It is.
It's not like us, like 5K, 10K sort of, right? So there is a concept called pay as you drive.
Okay.
Now, how do you make pay as you drive as a viable model?
What exactly is that?
Pay as you drive is, for example, let's say today you have a car, you have to insure your car as per the compliance, and you will get insurance for a year. Could be a comprehensive one, could be a third party, could be a OD one, right? On damage, could be a comprehensive one, right? But so let's take an example. Your car insurance cost you about 10K, right? And then you're sorted for the year unless you have a breakdown or some sort of accident, right? But in US, it was very expensive. Then they have to now let's say if your car is running 5,000 kilometers a year, you're still paying 10K. If your car is not running at all, you're still paying 10K.
Yes.
So imagine if you're based out of US and if the same insurance cost you about 2 lakhs. Now you would not want to pay if your car is not running, right?
Yes.
It's a bad cost, right? So if you're driving for let's say 10 kilometers, and if a kilometer have a price, ki, okay, for you to get insured for a kilometer, this is what you need to pay me.
Okay.
Like maybe 25 cents for a kilometer, let's say, for example.
So basically, what you are driving,
Correct.
the
Exactly.
kilometers that you are covering, and for that only you're going to pay.
Exactly. It becomes very convenient, right? क्योंकि आपको इंश्योरेंस तब चाहिए जब आप रोड पे हो.
Exactly.
घर बैठे आपको इंश्योरेंस
क्या
नहीं
होने
चाहिए,
वाला
है ना? मतलब doesn't make sense for you, right? So I think that was and this is a model that has really really penetrated out there in European and Western countries. Look at Cambridge, CMT, Cambridge Mobile and Telematics today, right? They have done some wow jobs here. They have, I think, 70% of market cap for the US, if I'm not wrong. And there are a lot of sandbox initiatives that has been gone in the European countries. In fact, in India, but unfortunately, we didn't have a chairman for about a year, I think, back then when we were just starting up Gypsy. So there was no hard call on sandbox projects
Okay.
because I think, see, in India, if you want to come up with something like pay as you drive, right? So for you to back the data, you need to have some sort of technology in place here. How am I assuring that this kilometer driven by the driver is a safe one or is a bad one? तो आपका risk तो उसी data के ऊपर हो रहा है, right?
Calculate होगा.
Right.
Exactly.
So for example, if I am someone who, let's say, who have taken a 50-kilometer trip, so my system detects that I have taken 10 harsh breaks, which is a potential threat, right? Which is a likely case where you might get accident, right? Be it a crash analytics, the way you take turns. So it's all about behavioral analysis. So we used to understand the behavior of a driver. He's driving more during the daytime or during the night times, because if you're driving at night time, most likely chances are high comparatively between a day and night, right? The way you drive, the way you balance your car. So there were a lot of data parameters, to look at it, to back it up. Yeah. Sorry, I just lost your question here.
So I, just wanted to understand that in terms of, because Gypsy is a company where you are focusing a lot on data, right?
I think I'll replace the word data more with safety, because data is just a medium, right? But the purpose of Gypsy's existence was safety, is safety, and will always be safety.
Will always be safety. When you have the data for a specific geography, right? Because in US it's different, Europe it's different. In fact, for different countries as well. And in India it's completely different. Now let's say, companies like, let's say Tesla, now they are, setting up their manufacturing plant over here. Do you think that they would also want to, make some changes in their system based on the data that they are going to receive of the, the Indians, how they drive within India? Do you think those?
Yeah, I think if you're talking about autonomous driving, right? I think we're a little far from that as a concept. Like that is a reality. It's already existing as a concept, though. See, there is a lot of thing, right? You can't just rely on maps when it comes to autonomous driving. What Tesla does, or maybe I can explain it to you in a simplest way, is that around your car you have multiple sensors that detects, within a certain range. If you command it, okay, if there is any object that's blocking your frequency in another 500 meters to a kilometer, let the computer know, like the onboard computer in the car. It'll make a break. Next action is to command a break, right? Sort of. So I think that's very simple and generic, sort of. I'm not saying that Tesla have not done something wow, but I think their core strength is innovation plus, the manufacturing side of it. But when it comes to the technology piece, right, self-driving, I don't really think it's a reality today in countries like India, because I think there is a lot of mapping that you'll have to do here. There is a lot of machine learning that needs to be done for the computer, because we have very complex roads, here in India. So I think it's going to take some while for any company, not only Tesla, but for any company to confidently say that we have mapped entire India and you can, sort of, you can go driverless or autonomous vehicle. I think we're a little far from that, as a technology. It's going to take at least, nothing as sort in near 3-4 decades, I see.
Okay. Okay. When you are, let's say, building a product like this, right? What is it that makes or breaks a product?
Product is an artist job, right? More than a product guy job. I think you have to understand. You have to, being a product manager, right? You have to look at from every angle, right? From the UI UX to the functions to the integrations that you do, So just for example, right? when we started, right? So we had a form that, okay, enter your name, your email ID, your gaadi ka number, your car number, your chassis number, your VIN number. And VIN numbers are 16 digit sort of, right? Somebody has to look at their RC and sort of enter those. So we have integrated with some APIs wherein you enter your car number, everything will be fetched, right? Sort of. So I think small tweaks that makes your customer life easy and still serves the purpose and give them a wow experience. You being very consumer centric is the key thing for a product guy. Irrespective of any other dynamics that you have out there. I think you being customer centric is the key here.
Yeah.
You would have seen, there are a lot of products like, I heard Dipinder Goyal speaking about it, right? About Zomato as a product and his story, right? So yeah, I think you should always look at the product from a very artistic perspective, and I think that's where you always innovate here, and that's where you are always concerned about how can I make every click or every tap meaningful for my users.
So, Deepak, we have spoken about a lot of things. I think the one buzzword which is out there right now, and I don't want to miss out on that, is AI. Everyone is talking about AI, and we are seeing so many use cases across the industries. Whether you talk about fintech, you talk about defense, you talk about maybe makeup as well, right? Or maybe the music industry. E-commerce has always been there. So, what are your views on AI?
Glad that you brought it up. So, see, one, AI is nothing new. I would say it's not something that just started in 2022, 2023, 2024. It's been around for some time, more than a decade or so. I think every other companies, be it Google, Apple, sort of, they've been working on sort of machine learning from a long time, right? I think when I started my career, it was already a buzzword, and it has already, like, machine learning, data analytics, sort of were the key buzzwords back then. And I think it's interesting the evolutions that AI is bringing in the industries today. But like you truly said, it's more of a buzzword. Like, people and companies, they want to embed or sort of integrate it with their product in a way, and I think that's also a possibility. And I think nothing wrong with it with the products like ChatGPT, sort of, right? It acts more like a platform wherein on top of it you can build multiple services. And the beauty about things like ChatGPT is it's like it learns you as a very exclusive subject, right? That's sort of capability and the kind of infra it needs, right? Like, backed by Nvidia now, right? So I think it needs a lot of processing power to the kind of computing it needs. So I think AI is very different than the way it's the way it's positioned. I would say, I won't say that people out there don't know about AI, right? They know AI, but I think AI is little more than what people think of, and the way they position AI in their products and services. But yeah, I think AI as a concept, as a technology piece, call it today, it has the best use cases to optimize, and we see the same application being practiced across the globe today, right? Like, wherever you see AI today is a piece of optimizing their services. Could be making their offerings 10x better using AI. Could be reducing their turnaround time. Could be quick response to their customers. Maybe more, more humanoid chatbots today talking to the customers on the other side. But it's not there yet, right? I think AI is dumb today. When you ask, hey, let's say, for example, you ask your phone today, book me a Uber cab today, right? Can't do the job, right, for you. You'll still have to go and book it manually, right? So I think it's still not there, but I think it's in that initial stages, wherein now the data of technology that has come together started making sense. But I think it's interesting where the world is moving. Like, every technology revolution come with its own pros and cons, right? And AI is no different again. You're gonna see the same sort of revolution happening across the globe. New kinds of jobs coming up, a lot of jobs you know, going out of the view, and then and I think a lot more to come. And the best companies today who are using AI are for its optimization purposes. It could be with any of the unit orgs. So I think that's my take for AI. I think it's not there yet. Like if you talk about AGI sort of concepts, right, which is a version behind, like forward to AI, is yet to come, and nobody can say that it's how effective it's going to be for humans, how dangerous it's going to be for humans. But there is something to remember fundamentally is that this is a war between atoms and bits, right? Like if you just look at bits, don't need time to evolve. They need programming to evolve. Atoms on the other sides need time to evolve, need generations to evolve. So I think the answer lies here only, right? Who is faster between a human and between AI, right?
Government is also taking a lot of initiatives, and they are also relaxing all of these tax slabs as well when it comes to the manufacturing. And in the next couple of years, we definitely see that manufacturing will be contributing somewhere around 25% to the entire GDP of India, right? So I think those things are there. So related to this, Deepak, there is so much happening in our country, right? Be it on the hardware side or on the tech side or maybe on the innovation side. So how do you see India's position in the global tech market?
Here, I have couple of contradictory facts. I think I was recently reading a report by Bloom Ventures. It states that India being the pioneer in digital payment like the UPI, which accounts to about 60% of point of sales transactions today in India. But at the same time, the same report says that your entire sales method is still peer to peer. 30 to 40% of tier 1 cities deliveries are still cash on COD. 70% of your tier 2 deliveries are still cash on delivery. 90% of your tier 3 deliveries are still cash on delivery. So it's very contradicting, right? On one side you have amazing payment solution, the global scale that you have built, right, wherein other countries are showing interest and adapting the same. But if you look at the method, like it has to be a ecosystem. Unless it doesn't grow parallelly, right? For parallel expansion of everything and as an integrated ecosystem, you need both things to talk to each other. And that being a case, right, where we need to really look at the gaps. Why, yeah? Despite the best solution, how do we innovate that our sales methods change? How do we bring trust reliance more with tier 2, tier 3? Like we have somewhere cracked the game that okay, in tier 1, those 40 people still pay the time of checkout, not delivery, right? So I think we need to relook at the kind of awareness, the kind of education maybe. There's something certainly that's required to fill up this gap. Likewise, if you look at India has the most number of female pilot participants across the globe. But India female workforce does not stand anywhere on a global level. We have the least number of female workforce participant across the globe. If you look at India level, then you will see at India as a country, right? You don't have even 20% women contribution when it comes to workforce here. So they're very contradictory statements, and I think we really need to identify the gap. And things are changing, of course. Things are changing, but I think it needs more education, more awareness. When we look at things from a very broader perspective, right? And and what I'm trying to say by this is we have capabilities. Yeah, you being a pilot, you need to be bloody good at it, right? You have to be very hardworking. You have to be very smart. You have to be very intelligent. that defines your capability, the potential. But I think somewhere the execution, right? I think somewhere we're left behind in terms of the way we're executing when we look at these contradictory statements. And you know what? India has the highest. So we are one of the fastest digital growing economy. And why I say this? Because on an average today, 45% of India is digitized today. We have 45% of Indian population is using internet today.
Okay.
And out of which we stand at about 18.5 to 19 GB consumption per smartphone per month today, which is the leading number, then followed by China, which is about 14.5 GB per month per user, and global average is about 11.5 to 12 GB per user per month.
Okay.
So we are consuming internet the most, right? But not for the right stuff, maybe, right?
Maybe not
Despite the highest internet consumer as per the statistics, I think it's also the way we use it. And I think it happens slowly as the ground population started, getting more aware with the use cases of technology, how technology can improve their lifestyle, and when they started thinking beyond watching watching content, or things that do not add a real time value in their life. So yeah, I think that's where we are, and I think there's a long way here. And I have huge respect for companies like I said, for Idea Force. To There's a company called Perpetuity, like a best alternative to companies like ChatGPT. Something that you're proud of being an Indian is something like Perpetuity, right?
What exactly do they do?
Yeah, so I think Perpetuity is just like a search engine.
Okay.
Tells you everything very clean, very specific. I think you can relate it more like ChatGPT sort of a concept, but it's built by Indian.
Okay.
For, like, I won't say it's for India, built from India for the world, but I think there is something that you want to brag about, right? Not somebody have built something and then you're trying to draw use cases on top of it. I think innovation, that's not innovation, right? I think we as Indians, right, we have another problem. We pretty much call everything as creative. Uh, we call innovation, right? But truly, is it really innovation? Is it really creativity? They have some exclusive definition. I think we just need to go relook at everything. India got amazing talent that can serve the world, and we have proven that. It's not that we have not proven our capability, we have proven the capabilities to the world. And I think it's just a matter of time with the speed that India is growing. And if you see India in last decade, right, it has really turned around the table. Yeah,
Yes.
I'll tell you something. Since 1947, since our independence, India has, I think, onboarded about what, $950 billion as FDI, foreign direct investments, out of which about 60% of the FDI, which is about roughly about 550 billion sort of deal, is happening in last 30 months.
Okay.
So that's a pace we are talking about, and this is a world record. No country have achieved this amount of FDI. And if you look at last 30 months, no country have achieved that. So, and it has been a world breaking fact for 8 consecutive years, right from 2015. Not only this, the investment, the FDI has come for 60 to 63 for different sectors in India. That's again a world record, right? So I think we have fetch some wow attention on a global level. We have given the world an opportunity to invest in us, and I think India has done a fairly good job. Even if we speak about the current trend that, okay, there was huge FDIs and US market collapse, and then now I think this is the best thing that can happen, right, to a market, to make it more meaningful. And I think, look at today, like 5 years back, 5 years, if I would meet a startup entrepreneur, right, it's very different than if I meet an entrepreneur today who wants to start up, his perspective of looking at a business as a startup is very different. Yeah, it's very mature. Then if I look at myself back 7 years, right? So today it's more about facts. Today it's more about real problems. Today it's more about real value add, right? It's no more about a bubble. So I think we're growing good, but I think more and more participants are required, especially in the hardware side of it. India really needs to gear up when it comes to hardware.
Yeah. So if you look at, the first time founders, right? When when the people are starting their entrepreneurial journey, right? Maybe after the first failure, they don't they just withdraw from there, right? And we are seeing that around 20% of the businesses, they get shut within the first year itself. So what do you think that leads to the failure of the companies?
Yeah, I think it's the purpose of why, I think I strongly agree with Simon Sinek when he is very loud about the purpose of why. And as we think, I'm sure it will draw your agreement to this. I think the purpose of why is very important. And if your purpose of why is important, right? Yeah, irrespective of how many failures you have, you'll still be able to climb up. Like if you don't have a purpose of why, then because you'll not be excited always. Yeah, come on. As a startup, it looks fascinating. You go talk to your friends and you say to your friends and families that, hey, I'm doing this and that, and you put up something, you have a website. It's all exciting for a couple of months, weeks, I would say. Then, the real hustle comes into play, yeah. And I think, people who are failing, they don't have a clarity at the very first place why they started even. And for people who have the clarity, I think it's more about, again, the ecosystem. Some might have great ideas, but they have ventured out into something else because some factors have not come in line with what they wanted to do. So I think that's also a sad reality.
So, along with, I would say, when people are, or when, the founders are not clear of their whys or maybe the vision, we can call it, right? Do you also believe that along with this, having strong processes in place and, having the right metrics in place is also something which is very important? Because I have observed you stressing over metrics, stressing over processes a lot.
See, I think, so there was this guy, Jasim, he's a legal guy, right? I think one fine day he made me read the agreement, and I found the agreement very rational, right? And I think he said that this document, that's the beauty of this document. They're very transactional. They are not attached with any emotion of either parties. And I think data's pretty much the same here. Data speaks reality whether you like it or not. And I think that's where it's very important. The importance of data, as a picture.
And also, Deepak, since you have started multiple times, you have started multiple companies,
And
right?
also failed multiple times.
Yes. My question is that when it comes to the culture, because culture it's a very, very important part, right? And companies do focus on culture. So I want to ask you, what are some of those kinds of cultures or some of the components in a culture that contribute to the success of a company?
यार आई थिंक मेरा ना बहुत बेसिक एंड फंडामेंटल लॉजिक है इसको लेके. See, I think let's look at two sides of businesses, right? One is like small, starting up. I think culture is a big word to say for such companies. And of course, culture do play, a vital role when your company sort of started scaling and you guys are scaling, right? So I think I would put culture over process,
Okay.
right? I think culture should be more respected and should be more thought through and should be a bigger concern of the leaders than processes. So I think Yeah, culture is very important, yeah. Let me put it like this. First, you should be very clear about who are you betting on. You know, is it worth your time, money, value, right? I think that's very important. And once you have betted on someone, right, you need to give them an independent choice. ये बहुत बड़ा problem है यार. People hire smart folks and then they want them to move their tails like, you know. I think that's this is something this is the worst thing that you can do as a leader, right? First, you should hire talented folks, right? And if you have hired talented folks, you should trust them enough,
Yeah.
right? And I think this has been I as an individual, I will never say I have failed, as a manager, as a team leader. I think this has been my philosophy, and I think we have done wonders with this philosophy here. When we power people with ki, hey, you have this potential, come on, you go do it. Yeah, it speaks a different confidence out of those folks altogether. Yeah, and I think some of the amazing things happens there.
Absolutely. It just creates that kind of
Right. I
magic.
think you're the dumbest founder if you have hired someone smart and still if you're asking them ki ye karo. I think you're just dumb, yeah. Right.
So, Deepak, we can go for hours, but as we are approaching towards the end, I would want you to share some piece of advice with all the budding entrepreneurs out there.
Yeah, I think act more than you think. It's very simple. Um, you'll figure out pretty much everything along the way. Just do it, यार. ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा कुछ नहीं होगा. You will lose. That's the max that's gonna happen. But I think for one to challenge their own status quo, for one to speak about causes, for one to take a stand that okay, I would want to disrupt this piece of technology, this sector. I want my country to stand somewhere. I think it all required actions over words, and you have to be fast at it. You have to be moving fast, and you have to be making a lot of mistakes. Still, you have to be the good guy for your team. You have to be leading them with a positive mindset. I think that's where the impact will turn up, after a year or so.
Yes.
So I think it's very important here.
Great. So thank you, Deepak. That was a great advice.
It was nice, yeah.
And
It was a
thank
nice
you so much for your
experience.
time. I
Chalo.
would say it was such a wonderful conversation and very insightful one. And I look forward to more. As we conclude our first episode of Decode Stories, I would like to thank Deepak for sharing his story and views with us. To all our listeners out there, thank you for watching this episode. Deepak's experiences and perspectives are a testament to the transformative power of technology and human spirit. We hope you have found inspiration and valuable insights from this conversation. Share this video with someone who may benefit from it. Stay tuned for more episodes of Decode Stories. Till then, keep exploring the past, discussing the present, and preparing for the future.